Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Today is another installment of Chronicles of a Life, alright? I'm going to be telling you a story today about this guy that I know named Jimmy. Jimmy was a fascinating character, and I call him a character with all the intents and purposes of that word. Jimmy was the type of person that would do anything to get what he wanted, regardless of what anybody else thought or how it was going to make them feel. He did not even care. He cared to the point that after he was satisfied, then he could focus on you. But if he wasn't satisfied, he's not even understanding that you have needs and you have feelings and all this and that. He's coming first in every way, shape, or form. That's how his mind worked. See, when Jimmy was on the town, he had this beautiful woman she was employed, she worked, she took care of the home, she took care of him, and she wanted to have a baby by Jimmy, and Jimmy was the type of dude that she was into, So one night, after they had been together for about 6 or 7 years, one night, Jimmy was supposed to be home, and he decided to stay out after work with some of the guys, get a few beers and stuff like that, right? Well, one of his partners, his partner was in the streets, okay? But Jimmy wasn't. He wasn't in the streets. One of his partners that was in the streets was out with them at this particular bar, and they was drinking. And one of his partner's customers come up to him and wanted to buy something from him. So he told him, he said, "Look, man, I ain't got nothing right now. Hit me up later on. I got you." And now, when you're looking for some work, some dope, you don't really want to be put on hold. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you know this dude got that good and you probably thinking he's playing with you. So the dude that was trying to get something kept on, "Come on, man, I ain't going to be here long. Just go on and break me off and everything will be straight. And then I can get on about my business." But Jimmy's friend kept telling him, "Man, I done told you to leave. I ain't got nothing, man. I'll holler at you later when I get something." So Jimmy, like he always does, jumped in it with his mouth. Started running his mouth, talking crazy to this dude. And the dude, when somebody's on edge, they need that fix. They ain't got the patience to listen to what you're talking about, especially if you ain't the one that got the dope. You understand what I'm saying? So dude said, he said, "Man, mind your business, man." He said, "I'm trying to talk to him, right?" So the dude that's trying to get the dope from Jimmy's friend, he reaches in his pocket. And Jimmy spooked. He always kept a gun on him, right? Didn't have nobody's license. Jimmy spooked, done got in some street business. No, he ain't no street dude. He pulls his gun and hit dude twice, right in the head. Killed that boy. Killed him dead, on the spot. And when they went to see what the boy had in his pocket, thinking that he had a gun, he was trying to pull out some money. He ain't had no gun. Didn't have no gun at all. He had some money and a pipe in his pocket. So the owner of the bar, he immediately calls the police. Jimmy panicked and he run. He get on down. His partner and them telling him, "Hold up, man. Don't run. Don't run." They can argue self-defense. You can say that you thought he had a gun. Jimmy ain't trying to hear that. He spooked, like I said. He get on down. He goes straight home. Everybody in the bar know him. Everybody in the bar knows him. So now he's at home. He's talking to his girl. He's panicking, telling her what he just did. And he's trying to get, some clothes together because he said he ain't finna go to jail. He's gonna run. She's telling him, "No, we'll fight this." It was self-defense because he's telling her dude reached in his pocket. Dude reached in his pocket and he shot him. She said, "That's self-defense. He had a gun." He said, "Nope. He didn't have no gun." But she said, "Well, we can still argue self-defense. You didn't know. He don't want to hear that. About that time, the police pulls up at the house. They get him. And they got the gun. He ain't even get rid of the gun. Didn't get rid of the gun. Got the gun, got powder residue all on. They tested him on the scene before he was able to wash his hands or anything like that, right? They got him. They take him down. He gets a big old bond. She can't make the bond, but she's visiting him. seeing about him and sending him stuff that she can send him and talking to him on the phone as much as she can. And she helps get him a lawyer. But when they get to trial, it wasn't no way to beat the case. Wasn't no way to beat the case. So they hit Jimmy, found him guilty for first-degree murder. Right? Now, the case should have been a second-degree issue, but they flipped him. He might get that on appeal. He's been working on the appeal ever since I've known him. But he got a first-degree murder charge conviction with the life sentence, right? Now he got 51 years to do. Now he in here. But like I said, he working on this case. But over time, being in here, his girl has grown frustrated with him, sick of him. Sick of him because he's always wanting. When you ever met somebody like that, it's always about them, always wanting something. And then try to throw up in your face stuff that he did for you in the past or what a friend did for you and all this and that. And then say, you don't love me. He always like to pull that card on her. So one day when he pulled that card, she shot back. She said, I'm falling out of love with you, and you're going to keep on, and you're going to push me all the way away from you. Because think about this girl, she loved him and was with him. But she couldn't take the constant beating down. He couldn't handle the situation that he put himself in. So now he's talking to his partners and all this and that, and mainly the one that was at the bar that night that was the dude who was trying to get some dope from him. And he's expecting dude to take care of him. But like dude told him, didn't nobody ask you to do that? Didn't nobody ask you to get in there? You got in there and then you end up killing that boy. So now he feeling like he all alone. So he do what a lot of people in the penitentiary do. He put on his manipulation cap. Put his manipulation cap on real tight. His gal leaving. His friends hardly answering the phone. This is after about the first 5 years that he's locked up. And that's about the average time of a relationship in the penitentiary, 5 years. And the person usually get down. If you get past 5 years, you're doing good. I'm telling you now. Because people grow frustrated with you. I'm talking about people that have life sentences, big sentences, right? Them first 5 years, they want to support you, be there for you. But life goes on out there. Life goes on. And it's hard for them to maintain that same level of interest in you when you're not there, because they're living life and their interests and things and new memories being made. And when those new memories are being made, those old memories are getting pushed further and further back. And it's harder for the person in the penitentiary to be able to relate to what the person on the town is talking about. And it starts to cause a conflict between the two. And now he's talking about old stuff. She's talking about new stuff. He can't relate to it because things are changing out there. You feel me? But he's trying to hold her in the spot that she's in because it's more beneficial to him. He don't want her to live her life, because if she lives her life, he's afraid that she's going to meet somebody that's going to be able to do some things that he can't do, which is help her enjoy life. And that's not strictly talking about sex. It's just creating new memories, traveling, talking to friends, going out, going to games, doing things like that, things that he can't do. So he tried to trap her into that mindset of stay with me. She got on down on him. So now Jimmy is trying to figure out how he's going to continue to live his life in the situation he's in. Let me tell you something about being in here, whether you got a life sentence or not, right? Being in prison, the memories that you have over time become what prison you were in, what cell you were in, what we had for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You feel what I'm saying? What officer is working, what shift they work, what mood they're in, all of those type of things. Your memories become prison memories. And they start to dominate and push the memories that you had of the street out. Like me, I'm going to give you a quick example, right? I had some great friends growing up. Great friends. I struggle to remember what they look like today, because they have gone on with their lives and I'm happy for them. And sporadically over the years, if they're at a friend's house or my grandparents' house or somebody's house that I call during the holidays, I might get to talk to them. But it's almost an awkward feeling every time I talk to somebody like that, because it's like, what you got going on? What are you doing? And it's no way they can catch me up on everything that they've been doing in a 5-minute call over for 30 years. You see what I'm saying? They'll tell me that they have kids and grandkids, and I'm like, what? When did this happen? All this and that. And it's almost like they grow, they want me to know, but it's almost like an impatience that sets in when they're talking to me, because it's like, it's no way I can tell you everything that I've been doing. So they'll just keep it short and say, man, I'm chilling. You know, that kind of thing, right? And then that'll make me feel some kind of way, like I don't know them anymore. And then on top of that, they don't know me. All I know about them is what I remember. And all they know about me is what they remember. And that's it. That's it. Now let me get back to Jimmy. Now Jimmy, he wanted him a woman. That was just the bottom line. He wanted him a woman. And one of the ways that guys in here get a female is like, you know, we come up with a phone, try to get on Facebook and things like that. Or, you know, you mess with somebody in prison, you know, they work here. Or, I mean, those are the genuine ways. Or you get on the con stuff. You know, they got those dating sites you get on and stuff like that. So Jimmy had come up on a phone. And so he used the phone to go through Facebook and try to find people that did not know him, were not from the area that he was from, would have no clue about who he was, right? But he had a problem, you know. And when he did this kind of stuff, the first few times he did it, he would tell people the truth about his circumstances, that he's locked up, he has a life sentence, but he's working on it, trying to get it reduced down to a second-degree murder charge. But for the time being, he's got to do 51, 52 years before he's eligible to be released. That's just that on that. But when he did that, they would stick with him for a little while, but then they would move on. He'd get a few months out of him, and his conversation would grow stale. He couldn't talk about the freedoms that he was hoping to have, because he knew that he wouldn't have those freedoms for a long time. It was hard for him to fake it. So he had to learn to take on a whole new persona. He became somebody else altogether. And what people didn't know about Jimmy, that he would always pick somebody out in the pod, in the unit that we lived in, that had a small sentence. Listen to me now, because you might know somebody that's doing this to somebody you love, might be doing it to you. Listen to me now. He would find somebody that's got a 10 or 15-year sentence, that's got maybe 2 or 3 years before they go up for parole and all of this and that, right? And he would befriend them. And when he would befriend them, he would start talking about his timesheet and how it was messed up, and asking them stuff about their timesheet. And to compare, they would have to go get their timesheet. And the timesheet is what they give us every 3 or 4 months that shows how much time we have to do, how many good days that we've earned, and all of those kind of things, how when we're eligible for release, you know, and all that old kind of stuff, right? So one of the guys that he picked out one day, this guy had a 15-year sentence, right? He had already done some time on it, and he was eligible for parole within the next 2 years or so, right? Now listen to me. When he would look at the timesheet, he would look for specific stuff. He wanted to make sure that they were not from an area that he was from. You feel what I'm saying? Second, he wanted to make sure that they had a red date. Or the red date is a release eligibility date, right? That's when you're eligible to be released, or you're going to go up for parole. Then he would look for the flat date. The flat date is when your sentence is done, you're finished, no matter what. You feel what I'm saying? And then he would look for a future action date. And the future action date on the timesheet, that was the date that they usually put on the form that tells you when your next parole hearing is. Now here's the thing, let me tell you something. See, Jimmy got life. The dude he had befriended got 15, right? He matched up on everything that Jimmy needed from him. But here's the thing. See, Jimmy can't change how he look. And he can't change the way the dude look, because they don't look nothing alike. They don't look nothing alike. But this is what Jimmy does, right? Because, you know, I told you he had a phone, right? So this is what he does. Because you can go on the internet and find out anything you want to about anybody that's in the penitentiary, right? Go on that state's TDOC website in Tennessee or whatever state you go to, Georgia's Department of Corrections, whatever, and you can pull people up and you can see when their future action date is, when they're going up for parole, how much time they got. You can see all that. Ain't no secrets, y'all. Ain't no secrets, right? But that's why he would find somebody that's got a small sentence. And then when he goes online on his phone, he would copy and paste a picture of them to his pictures, and that'll be the picture that he sends to old girl. And then on top of that, he would assume this man's whole identity. And he would tell her how much time he had and all this and that, and encourage her to go see what he was talking about on the Department of Corrections website. And everything will be verified. Ain't that something? Now, I know you're wondering, well, what about the visits? How is he going to get around that? Well, let me tell you how he got around that. This is Jimmy's plan. He going to make them fall in love with him, right? And then he's going to go to visit. He's going to continue to make excuses after excuses to push that day back until he knows he's got him. And that's what he did. He kept doing that. Excuse me. But one day, he wasn't focusing. He wasn't paying attention. And this girl that he had come up with, this woman, rather, that he came up with, she said, how do you feel about your parole date coming up? This is after about a year into the thing. You understand? He done got her. They've been courting or dating or whatever you want to call it. And she's feeling him and starting to express that she loves him and wants to spend some time with him, have a future with him and all this and that. But the parole date creeped up on him, right? The parole date crept up on him. So she says to him, how do you feel about your parole coming up? Because he had like 2 or 3 more months as this other person before he goes up for parole. And he snaps to real quick because he's quick on his feet. He said, well, you know, I'm trying to find somewhere to live, you know, and all this in a job plan. And he flips it back. He said, can you help me with that? And she said, of course I can. She said, can you put down that you will stay here? And he said, well, they might, but go on and give me the information and stuff like that. Make sure you can't have no guns. And now he's going through the whole list to make sure that she stays hooked. And then he said, what about a job? Can you help me get a job? She tells him about people that she knows out there, and she goes to talk to people. And she tells him that, you know what I'm saying, her man is coming home and can they help him with a job and all this and that. And they say, yeah, sure, of course. So they get everything lined up to help him, right? Now, here's the thing. The day was coming up real fast, right? The day was coming up real fast. A couple of months done went by. And now it's time for him to go up for parole. And she asked him, could I come to the parole hearing? And I could show support and I can talk to the parole board. Because when you come to a person's parole hearing, they let a certain amount of people talk, right? So he said, well, no, not really. It's going to be bad because, you know, I might have some people protesting the parole. I don't want you to have to go through that. So she says, oh, okay, I didn't understand all of that. And he was like, yeah, he said, that ain't nothing nice to go through, and I just wouldn't want to put you through that. So she tells him, okay, I understand. So she stands down on that. So she thought about it overnight, and she said, you know what? If I'm going to spend my life with him, spend some time with him, let him live with me, I need to get ready for this kind of stuff because I need to know everything about it. So she decides to attend the parole hearing without telling him. So she shows up the day of. Don't tell him. She wants to surprise him. Why would he be mad? He's going up for parole, right? So she goes to the parole hearing. She shows up. Now, it's a lot of people there because the actual dude that's going up for parole has his family there. Oh, wait a minute. Did I tell you that he was married? Yeah, the dude is married. So when she gets there, she tells them, you know, you got to tell them, are you a guest for the inmate or you coming as a victim's advocate, protesting the parole? She says, I'm coming for the inmate. And they asked, what's your relation association with him, to him? She says, I'm his girlfriend. He's going to be coming to live with me when he gets out. So the officers, they're not really thinking about all this and that and the third. So they escort her in and they show her where she can sit. Now Jimmy, the supposed to be Jimmy, is on his way to the parole area, right? So when he gets there, he sits down a couple of seats away from her because he can't sit in the audience. And she asked him, she said, hey Jimmy, right? Now, again, I say Jimmy, but he's giving her a different name, the name of the dude. And she calls his name. And he turns around. And he said, hey, how you doing? Who are you? And she said, I'm such and such. And he said, oh, I don't know you. She said, you don't know me. We've been talking on the phone for the last year, over a year now. And he said, I don't know you. And turned back around to face the audience. You know what I'm saying? The parole people, because they're on the big screens and stuff like that. They're not actually in person. So now she's sitting there. She's feeling some kind of way. And now the other guests are coming in. His wife, his kids, his mom, dad, everybody like that. And while she's sitting there, they say, are you here for my son? The mom would say. And she was like, yes. Nice to meet you. My name is such and such. I'm his girlfriend. Then his wife turns around and said, hold up. You his what? She said, I'm his girlfriend. She said, ain't no way. She said, I've been talking to him for the last year. She said, ain't no way. Ain't no way. I talk to him every day. He ain't talk to you. So now she's sitting there confused. She's getting upset. So after the parole hearing, the dude was put off for 6 months pending a psychological evaluation. And when he got up to leave, he hugged his wife and kids and his mom and the other people there. And he left without saying a word to girl, without saying one word to her. So as she was leaving, she was walking out with the actual guy's family. Now she don't know. She's starting to figure some things out, but this is not Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? He's got a fake name, all this and that, but this is not the person she's been talking to. So when they get outside the prison into the parking lot, the wife, she was like, what's your name? And she gave her name. She said, look, I'm not trying to cause no problem. I've been talking to him every day from this number right here. And the wife looks at the number. She don't recognize the number at all. She don't know whose number that is. But she told the woman that had been talking to Jim, said, look, my husband don't have no phone. He's not trying to do anything to get into any trouble. And I know he has not been talking to you. So this is what she said. She said, I tell you what, if he calls you tonight, you call me on the 3-way and we're going to get this straight. And if he has been talking to you, you can have him. So that night, she was waiting on him to call. Waiting on him to call. And when he called, excuse me, and when he called, she put him on hold, said, hold on a second. Then she called the gal, the wife of the actual dude. And now she's on the phone. And she said, hey, baby, how you doing? Now, Jimmy don't recognize the voice. He said, who is this? This your wife? I said, my wife? This ain't my wife. I'm not married. Now Jimmy's starting to realize, the gig is up. Something's wrong. So now the actual girl that Jimmy been talking to, she said, so when I came to the parole hearing today, I saw somebody that looked like you, or the picture you sent me, but it wasn't you. You didn't even recognize me. Now he's sitting on the phone, don't know what to say. Starts stuttering. So the wife, she said, I'm gone. You got that. Because she knew it wasn't her husband at that point. So now Jimmy's stuck on the phone with Gal, and Gal starts to cry. She said, "Who are you, and why are you doing this to me?" So he told her the truth right then and there, because he knew by her crying that she had feelings for him. So, like I said about Jimmy, he's very manipulative. He's very selfish. So when he realized that he thought he had her, he said, "Look, I need to tell you some things about myself." He said, "I do care about you, but I didn't want to tell you how much time I have because I didn't think that you would talk to me. And somebody as beautiful as you and caring as you," and he's trying to use all that kind of stuff, "wouldn't have time for somebody like me." He's using all of that. Now, she's a savvy woman. You understand what I'm saying? So she knows what he's doing. So she just plays along. And she said, "Send me a picture so I can see what you actually look like, since you done stole my heart. And you know what I look like from head to toe, because they done the do with the phone." You understand what I'm saying? So he sends her a picture. And Jim is not a bad looking dude. The issue is not how he looks. The issue is his time, the sentence that he has. So she tells him, she said, "Look, I got to think about this, because I thought that we had something. I thought you were coming home. And now you're telling me that it'll be decades before you come home. I got to really, really think about this and see if I can deal with somebody that has the kind of time that you have. So give me some time and we'll talk about it." So they get off the phone. He says, "I love you," and she says, "I love you back." She says all of that. And she did love him. She did. He had stolen her heart. But I'm going to tell you something. Man, the worst thing that you can do that I've learned in life is piss off a woman. I'm talking about piss a woman off to the point to where it hurt her deep down in her gut, in her soul. Worst thing you can do. Worst thing you can do, y'all. I'm telling you now. All y'all men out there, I'm telling you, don't be doing that. You get her that mad at you, she gonna do something. And you know what she did. She called the prison, told the warden what was going on, and sent the picture of him with the phone number and everything. So they asked her, "Would you mind calling him so we can get him on the phone and hear his voice while my officers," this is what the warden told her, "while my officers go and catch him in the act?" Guess what she said? "Yes, sir, I will." So the next night, she called Jimmy, and Jimmy answered the phone. And when he answered the phone, she talked the talk, and they walked the walk, and did this and did that. And within 5 minutes, they were knocking on his cell door. "Get up." So he starts to fumble with the phone, but they already seen the light. They got him. He was able to barely get the phone turned off before they got him. And that's how that ended. That's how that ended. So I said all that to say this. You know, a person with a sentence, a big sentence, like what Jimmy had, has a hard time being honest about that situation because they don't think that anybody would deal with them. But what I would say to somebody like Jimmy, and I did tell him that, what I'm about to tell you, is that you tell them the truth anyway. And let them decide if they want to deal with it. Because if you don't tell them the truth, they're going to know that you're dishonest. And even if they do love you, they're not going to trust you. So trust is the main thing. Y'all remember that. Whether you're in here or out there, tell them the truth. Give them the choice. When you take a person's choice away, you're really setting them up, man, for some real pain. Setting them up for some real pain. And that's not what you want to do. I know you don't. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting so